And we'll also discuss that. Types of immune response. The first type of immune response, that is called as cell-mediated immunity, where the cells are involved in the development of immune response, like T cells and B cells and other immune cells. And also we will discuss about the humoral type of immune response. Please don't call it humoral immunity. Please call it as humoral immune response, where we will get the immunity through the B cells mainly. This humoral type of immune response, which we will get to the body by the antibodies or immunoglobulins. That means the immune response which we will get in the body or to the body by the immunoglobulins or antibodies, which we are calling as humoral type of immunity. These are the different types of basics. That means introductory part we will discuss today's class. But we will also discuss about the cell-mediated immunity and acquired immunity, humoral immunity as a separate parts. First, we will discuss about I hope you are able to see the slide. First, we will discuss about the immunology's introductory part. What is immunology? Immunology means the study of immune system. That means we have a system in our body. For example, if you see, we have different types of organ systems in our body, like digestive system, respiratory system, like that. But we have a system in our body which will protect the host system or human body. Such a system is called as immune system. But what is immune response? Immune response means the response which we are getting to in the body against the pathogens, or to combat the pathogens, or to kill the pathogen. Such a type of system or protecting system which we are calling as immune system. The Latin word immunis, you can see here, the Latin word immunis means exempt. Exempt means you have to take out. That means we'll keep it away. That is called as exempt. That means the word immune is explaining that, which is exempting the different types of pathogens which are invading our body or which can cause our body. Then earliest written reference by Theodius in 430 BC, Pasteur was first to successfully apply the vaccination. That means Louis Pasteur, I will show the slide also. Louis Pasteur was first to successfully apply the vaccination. He tried to develop the immune response in the human body against the different types of pathogens. Then you can see the diagram here. He is Louis Pasteur and his assistant, and he is giving the vaccination against the certain type of diseases. Then you can see that Pasteur is observing the rabies vaccination. That means the helper to the Louis Pasteur, he is giving the rabies vaccine to some particular individual. That means Louis Pasteur, first time he tried to develop the immune responses against the different types of diseases. Here he is giving the vaccine against the rabies disease. Coming to what are different types of immunities? There are two types of immunities which we will find in our body, that is called as innate immunity and acquired immunity. What is innate immunity first? Innate immunity means the immunity which we are getting to the body against the pathogen by birth. That is called as innate immunity. Then we have other type of immunity which is very specific, that is called as acquired immunity. That is called as acquired immunity. You can also call it as adaptive immunity. Adaptive immunity means, or acquired immunity means, as I said, that innate immunity which we will get by birth, but acquired immunity which we will get in course of lifetime, or in course of experiences, or in course of combating the different types of pathogens or bacteria, virus, in our daily lifetime, our body will synthesize the different types of antibodies, immune memory against the certain pathogen, then develop the immune response, very specific immune response. This is called as acquired immunity. And there are two types of immune responses. Here we have discussed that there are two types of immunity, and at the same time we have two types of immune responses. The first type of immune response that is called as a cell-mediated immunity, and the second type that is called as humoral type of immunity. That the immunity or the immune response which we will get by the different types of immune cells, especially T cells, that is called as humoral type, cell-mediated type of immunity. Then coming to the humoral immunity. Humoral immunity means the immunity which we will get to the body by the antibodies or by the response of B cells. That is called as humoral type of immune response. That is called as humoral type of immune response. We'll discuss later classes about the very depth information about what is humoral types of response, what are the different types of B cells, how the B cells will be activated to combat the pathogens, how these B cells will synthesize the immunoglobulins. We'll discuss about the immunoglobulin structure, and we'll also discuss about the different types of the immunoglobulins with respect to the different types of the responses. Before going to that one, we'll also discuss about what is innate immunity in depth information. Today we'll discuss about innate immunity. I already told you that innate immunity means the immunity which you will get by birth. That is called as innate, means by birth. Don't think that innate means only you will get by birth. Innate means which you are already having that immune response in your body. That is called as innate immune response. And innate immune response, they have classified into, that means innate immunity, types of innate immunity, I mean to say that. Innate immunity has classified into different types. That means the body will get the innate immunity by different types of concepts like physiological mechanisms, that is, you can also call it as physiological barriers, anatomical barriers. Then you're also having the different types of cells and chemical mediators. Cells and chemical mediators. These are the different types of concepts which we will discuss in the innate immunity. First, we'll discuss about the anatomical barriers. What is the meaning of anatomy? Anatomy means study about the internal organs, that is called as anatomy. The first anatomical barrier. Anatomical barrier means it cannot give the space to invade the pathogen into the body. That is called as anatomical barrier. For example, let's take the skin. We'll discuss about this anatomical barrier elaborately. First, you take the example as a skin. Skin is the largest organ in the body, where you will find that skin totally covering our outermost part of our body. What is the main importance of the body? Sorry, skin. Skin can stop the invasion of the pathogen. For example, if any bacteria came and attached to the skin, it is not that much of easy to enter into our body, inside of our body, because skin will protect as a shield-like structure. That's why we are calling the skin as an anatomical barrier. Skin as an anatomical barrier. Then coming into the physiological barriers. Somehow the pathogen as enters into the body. After entering the pathogen into the body, our innate immune system tries to stop the invasion or development of population of the certain bacteria or pathogen inside the body. That is called as physiological barriers. For example, if you see the anatomical barriers, skin and mucous membrane or mucous secretions, these are the main important anatomical barriers which we are finding in our body. Then coming into the physiological barriers. The main physiological barrier in our body, increasing temperature. Because if you are getting infected with some pathogen, bacteria, maybe that may be virus, you will find the fever. That means our internal physiological system tried to increase the temperature to stop the growth of the particular pathogen inside the body. Because you see, the pathogen already crossed the anatomical barrier, there may be a chance of that pathogen infecting the internal organs. That's why the innate immune system has a system like what is that? It has stopped the increase. It has tried to stopping the increase of the development or growth of the pathogen in the body. That is called as physiological barriers. There are other concepts. They're like phagocytosis. That means some immune cells like monocytes, in course of time, they have developed as macrophages and phagocytes. They are trying to engulf the or capture the pathogen and degrade that pathogen by releasing the lytic enzymes. This is called as what is that? Phagocytosis. Then we have one more mechanism in innate immune system that is called as inflammation. Then we have one more mechanism. That means if somehow the pathogen infected to the different types of organ, then in the infected area, you will find a mechanism of innate immunity that is called as inflammation. These are the different types of, I mean to say that physiological barriers, anatomical barriers, different types of immune cells like phagocytic cells and natural killer cells, and inflammatory immune response can try to stop the invasion of the pathogen by what that is called as innate immunity. Then coming to the what are the basic properties of the innate immunity, we will discuss about all these mechanisms elaborately after some time. Then we will try to discuss first what are the main mechanism of or main characteristics of the innate immunity. Before discussing about the innate immunity characteristics, we will discuss about the basic characteristics of the immune system. How this immune system is protecting the host system. Because immune system is having a main property that is called as discrimination. Or you can also call it as a specificity. Discrimination and specificity means immune system is having a property that is called as they can detect the self and non-self particles. They can detect the self and non-self particles. That means our immune system cannot act against the self particles. There are some exceptions are there. We will discuss that exceptions in course of other classes. But the best property of immune system that is called as discriminating the self and non-self cells. That means never our immune system cannot act against the self particles. This is called as a specificity. And one more important concept, the excellent concept of the immune system, characteristics of the immune system that is called as immune memory. That means immune system has the memory. That means if any pathogen enters into the body, then initially you will suffer, then immune system will synthesize the certain type of immune response against that particular pathogen. If the same pathogen enters into your body in course of lifetime, then because of having the immune memory, the same pathogen will be combated by or killed by or stopped very fastly without having the infection. This is called as immune memory. Then it is also having the colonial selection. And you can also say that, what is that? The immune system is having the patience. That means if some of the particles or infected cells are present in our body, it cannot act against our self particles. That means it is having the discrimination of self and non-self discrimination. This is the best two properties of the immune system. Then coming to the innate immune system, because there are a lot of difference between the innate and adaptive immunity or acquired immunity. But what are the basic properties of the innate immune system? Innate immune system is very fast or first line defense mechanism. I mean to say that the first line defense immune system or immune mechanism that is called as innate immune system. And the second most important property to the immune system, it cannot synthesize anything, just it will try to stop the invasion or try to stop the growth of the pathogen. but it cannot synthesize the immunoglobulins against the pathogen. It cannot send the signal to the main immune system to act against the pathogen. Just the innate immune system initially try to invade, try to stop the invasion, try to stop the growth, try to give the signal to the main immune system. This is the basic characteristics of the, innate immune system. And one more important concept. Innate immune system is non-specific. It is not specific. What is the meaning of non-specific immune response? For example, if you go into the adaptive immunity, where you will find the, if bacteria enters into the body, then the adaptive immunity will give a certain type of immune response against the bacteria. That means that is called as immune response against the bacteria. If any virus enters into the body, then adaptive immunity will develop a certain immunity against the virus. If any parasite enters into the body, adaptive immunity will develop a parasitic immune response. That means adaptive immunity is very specific, but when you're coming to the innate immunity, there is no any specific immunity, because if anybody coming, it will try to stop, it will try to stop the growth, it will try to stop the invasion, or it will try to stop the infection. That's why this is called as non-specific immunity. That's why this is called as non-specific immunity. Then coming to the types of innate immunity. Types of innate immunity. In types of innate immunity, you have physiological barriers, you have anatomical barriers, you have different types of cells like what is not cell-mediated immunity, like phagocytic cells, macrophages. Then you have inflammatory immune response. These are the main concepts in the types of innate immunity. Then coming to the anatomical barriers. The first anatomical barriers in an innate immune system means they have tried to stop the invasion. That means every pathogen tried to invade the human body to enter into the system. For example, take a kingdom. Kingdom is protected by fort. That means an iron shield-like structure or a big shield-like structure which will protect the other soldiers to enter into the, or enemies enter into the fort. Like that, the human body is having a shield-like structure, that is skin. That skin maximum will try to stop the invasion. For example, if you see the skin structure, that means histology of the skin, there are two types of structures in the skin, that is dermis, epidermis, and hypodermis. Don't think about hypodermis. Mainly, in way of immunity, you will find the dermis and epidermis. In the epidermal area, you will find the skin with the different types of layers, like stratum spongiosum. I'm coming from down. Stratum basal, stratum spongiosum, stratum carniosum, and stratum lucidium and stratum carniosum. But how this skin will stop the invasion of the pathogen, that is very important topic. Because the stratum carniosum is having a shield-like structure which is made up of dead protein, that is called as keratin, which is very hard. Once again, I am repeating. Stratum carniosum, which is covered by, that means upper layer of the skin, which is covered by a protein which is very hard, that is called as keratin. This keratin protein will be shield the skin, which is useful for the stopping of the invasion of the different types of pathogen into this body. That is called as, a shield-like structure. That's why we are calling that, you can also say that anatomical barrier. And then coming to the other concepts, if you see that where in the dermis area, you will find the different types of glands and blood vessels. The glands which you are finding in the skin, that is called as a sebaceous gland, which is releasing the sweat. The sweat, the pH of the sweat, more or less, 3 to 5. That means acidic in nature. That means if any pathogen coming and binding on the skin or sitting on the skin, they won't develop because the pH of the skin or the sebum or the sweat is 3 to 5. That means in the acidic nature, the bacterial pathogen cannot grow that much fast. Like this, the anatomical barriers initially stopping the pathogens to invade into the internal organs. This is about the skin. While you're talking about the skin, you please talk about that keratin protein and the sebum. Keratin protein is very dead protein, which is covering the stratum corneosum, and at the same time, the keratin protein is a very hardest protein. You cannot that easily open the keratin protein by a pathogen. Then one more concept: if any bacteria attach to the skin, it cannot grow. That means pathogen cannot grow because the sebum pH is 3 to 5. This is 3 to 5 pH. It is not optimum pH or good environment to grow the bacteria. This is how skin has tried to stop the growth as well as invasion of the pathogen into the body. Then coming to the next one, that is called as the mucous membrane. You see that all types of internal organs like digestive tract, urinogenital tracts, respiratory tract, all these tracts are covered by a slimy cover that is called as a mucous membrane. We have in our body that is globulate cells. The globulate cells are releasing the mucus in the gastrointestinal tract. But everywhere, especially internal organs, so why you are calling it as mucus as an anatomical barrier? Because there are different types of the chances the pathogen can enter into the body by inhalation. That means you will respire the gas, that means air. Through that air, some pathogens can enter into the body. If that pathogen after entering into the body, you have to stop that invasion. But how you will stop that invasion? But very simple. All our immune systems, I want to say that internal organs will secrete mainly the respiratory tract and digestive tract, having the passage of this this pathogens into the internal organs. That's why we see the respiratory tract as well as your digestive tract is having the highly covering, the internal covering by this mucous membrane. But how these mucous membranes can stop this invasion? Because this mucous cells are the internal organs is having the cells, blood cells is having the cilia. That cilia will engulf the pathogen and your mucus and secrete the mucus around that one. Then mucus will be exhaled out by sputum. For example, if you are suffering with the common cold, you will get a sneezing and sputum daily morning. All this is what is the source of mucus. That's why the medical practitioners that used to tell that while you are having that cold, please take more water, because the more water is having the source of secreting the more mucus by the cells to engulf the pathogen, to trap the pathogen, which is entering into the internal organs. This is about the mucous membranes. Like this, skin and mucous membrane are the best anatomical barriers which can stop the invasion as well as the growth of the bacteria. That means pathogen. Then coming into the next one, that is called as physiological barriers. That is called as physiological barriers. The best physiological barrier, you see that? I already told that. How the pathogens can enter into the body. There are two types of sources mainly, by inhalation or through your food which you are intaking daily. Somehow the food and some respiratory tract have infections. If the pathogens are entering into your gastrointestinal tract, in the stomach there are gastrointestinal glands. This gastrointestinal glands is releasing the highly acidic juice that is called as HCl, hydrochloric acid. The pH of the hydrochloric acid more or less 1.5 to 1.2. Sorry, 1.8 to 2. If you want to be very specific, that is 1.8. It's highly acidic. But why this highly acidic nature you need in the gastric juices? Because if any pathogen entering or passing through your gastrointestinal tract or to your food, which should be killed. But how you will kill? You cannot go and kill, but you can kill by releasing a highly acidic gastric juice that is 1.8 to 2. At this pH, this bacteria or pathogen cannot grow. It will be killed maximum. That's why releasing of HCl in the stomach is one of the best property or physiological barrier in our body. Then you can see the tear, you can see the saliva. They're having different types of, because IgA, you will find in the different types of secretions of the body, immunoglobulins. But I'm not discussing about this because you can say that every cell is releasing the mucus or some secretions. This secretion is having the hydrolytic enzymes. These hydrolytic enzymes can, this is called as cell secretions. This cell secretion is having the hydrolytic enzymes. These hydrolytic enzymes can digest the peptidoglycan layer which is present on the pathogens, mainly bacteria and virus. Like this, the secretions which you are finding in the gastrointestinal tract as well as respiratory tract try to stop the growth of the bacteria by killing. But they are not discriminating, this is virus, I want to work, this is bacteria, I want to work, this is non-self, that is a non-living particle, I want to work. Just they will respond against the pathogen. Just they will try to stop the invasion and growth. This is about the physiological barriers. Then one more important physiological barrier that is called as fever or increase in temperature. For example, if you see you are suffering with some viral infection or some viral or bacterial infection, then in the night after 1 or 2 days you will having a symptom that is called as fever. That means fever means it is a protective mechanism in our body. That means if the bacteria enters into your body or pathogen enters into your body, our physiological mechanism try to stop the, or our innate immune system try to stop the growth of the bacteria by increasing the temperature. But how it will increase the temperature? Very simple, it will release a proteins, or what is that, that is called as pyrates. These pyrates molecules will try to increase the body temperature like 1 to 2 degrees centigrade, like normally the 36 to 37 degrees centigrade our body temperature. It is like what is a 38 and 38 degrees centigrade. More than 38 degrees centigrade is enough to stop the growth of the bacteria, because the bacteria can grow like a 36.5 to 37 degrees centigrade, optimum 37 degrees centigrade. That means if you increase 1 degree or 2 degrees temperature than the normal body temperature, then the bacteria growth will be like pathogen growth will be decreased. I mean to say that releasing HCl, releasing the cell secretions, increasing the body temperatures can stop the growth of the bacteria. That means anatomical barriers can stop the invasion as well as growth. Physiological barrier can stop the growth by killing non-specifically. They cannot see bacteria, I want to work. They cannot discriminate, this is virus, I want to work. They can act the same way. That's why innate immune system is non-specific immune system. This is about the physiological barriers. Then coming to the different types of cells like macrophages, phagocytic cells, and natural killer cells. Phagocytic cells are macrophages, especially macrophages are the mature cells of the monocytes. The monocytic cells converted as macrophages in the different types of body. For example, if you see the macrophages which we are finding in the liver, that is called as Cooper cells. Phagocytic cells which you are finding in the brain, that is called as mesoglial cells. Phagocytic cells which you are finding in the kidney, that is called as microglial cells. Like this, you will find the phagocytic cells and macrophages in the different types of organs. You can call it as in a different way. But what is the main mode of this macrophages and phagocytic cells? The main mode of the macrophages and phagocytic cells, just they will go and engulf by a process that is called as phagocytosis, and the bacteria will be enters into the phagocytic cells. Then the phagocytic cells will release the lytic enzyme against that bacteria and lyse that bacteria and degrade that bacteria. This is called as phagocytosis. Everywhere in every organ you will find this macrophages and phagocytic cells. Then coming into the inflammation, the last concept in the innate immune system. What is the meaning of inflammation? For example, when you are finding some wound or some cut, everywhere you will find the immune response. Immune response is the best property of the innate immunity, because the immune response, the best properties of the immune system, inflammation, that is redness, pain, vasodilation, redness, pain, heat. These are the different types of characteristics of the inflammation. That means if any pathogen unfortunately enters into the internal organ, you have to give the main signal, immune system, because I am infected, you please act against that particular area or recruit some immune cells at that particular area specifically. It means inflammation is not trying to kill, but inflammation is trying to send the signal to the main immune system by releasing the different types of chemical mediators like cytokinins and interferons. Cytokinins and interferons. These are the chemical mediators. I mean to say that this is about the innate immune system. I mean, that means today we have discussed that. Today we have discussed that. What is immunity? Immunity means it's the protective immune response against the foreign particle or pathogen. That pathogen may be bacteria, that pathogen may be fungi, that pathogen may be non-living particle, also sometimes virus like that. But main property of the immune system, it has to protect the host system. And the main characteristics of the immune system, immune memory, discrimination self and non-self, this is about the main characteristics. And main types of immunity, that is innate immunity and acquired immunity. Innate immunity means the immunity which you will get by birth, that is called as innate immunity. Then the next one that is called as acquired or adaptive immunity. The immunity which you will get in course of lifetime by combating the different types of pathogens, that is called as acquired immunity or adaptive immunity. Then there are two types of immune response which we have discussed. What is that? Humoral type of immune response and cell-mediated type of immune response. Humoral type of immune response mainly we will get by B cells by synthesizing the immunoglobulins. By synthesizing the immunoglobulins. By synthesizing the immunoglobulins. Then there is a second type of immune response that is called as cell-mediated immunity, which we will get by T cells. Mainly T cells. T cells are three types. T helper cells, T cytotoxic cells, T suppressor cells. These are the three different types of immune cells which can give the immune response in our body against the a system or a pathogen that is called as innate immune system, cell-mediated immunity. Then we have discussed that innate immunity elaborately. Under innate immunity, we have discussed the physiological barriers, anatomical barriers, and inflammation and other cell-mediated immune responses. Under physiological anatomical barriers, we have discussed that skin. While we are discussing about the skin, we will discuss skin is an anatomical barrier because skin will having a keratin layer, very tough and rough layer, which will stop the invasion of the pathogen through the skin and inside the body. And we are also discussing that skin will produce in the dermal area, you will find the sebaceous gland. The sebaceous gland will produce the acidic secretion that is called as a sweater, which will stop the growth of the bacteria. Then we also discuss about the mucus in the different types of internal organs, which can trap the different types of the pathogens and spill out, as well as it will present to the macrophages and phagocytic cells. Then coming to the physiological barrier. In physiological barrier, we have discussed about the increasing temperature. We have discussed about that is fever. We have discussed about the releasing HCl, and we have also discussed about the cell secretions, like what is that lytic cell secretion, which can kill the bacteria by digesting the peptidoglycan layer. Then we have discussed about the inflammation. This inflammation is just like immune response which is sending the signal to the main immune system because certain area is infected with some pathogen. You please act specifically against the pathogen. This is how this is innate immunity. And tomorrow we'll discuss about adaptive immunity, and we'll try to discuss about this humoral and cell-mediated immunity elaborately. Thank you very much. If you have any doubt, you are free to ask, and I will share my mobile number in the next class. Thank you very much.